It looks like my assistant coach says he can get in here. So, can you talk, Jacob?
I think so.
Fantastic. So, I'm going to have you talk about. I can hear you, by the way. Why don't you talk us and walk us through the Sally play?
Yeah. So our Sally play, again, just like Coach Bannan was saying, my name's Coach Malay or Jacob is that's my first name. I don't know why I went by Coach Malay, even though it says Tom Bannan. I just stole his email to make sure I could get in to talk. But Sally is just a draw play, essentially. You're trying to make it look like you're running either like a jet pass or like a waggle or something like that, where your quarterback is going to boot out to the perimeter. And when Rick Stewart came and did his install, one of the lines he said that I loved was he said, I run an RPO. It's called the waggle. The quarterback can either throw it or run it. That's an RPO. There you go. So we're trying to kind of get that look where our quarterback is booting really hard to the sideline with that full sprint out. But then we're actually handing it off underneath to the three back. And it's a draw play. The hardest part of running Sally correctly is getting the linemen to block it correctly. They need to basically like open their hips up fully and create a window for the defensive line to go past them. And then essentially they're putting one arm on the inside shoulder and one arm on the back of the defensive lineman, and then using that to kind of like carry them out of the play. And once we get to actually showing you some clips, there's some clips where our offensive line does it correctly and we get, 15, 20 yards out of the play. And then there's one play where our offensive line does it incorrectly and we get 1 yard because the defensive linemen just kind of bottle up the inside of where we're trying to run the hole, right? The 3-hole or the 4-hole, whichever way. So the hardest part outside of the teaching the offensive line is the handoff, because it is kind of a fancy handoff that really pulls the eyes of the linebackers and the defensive backs. And that's where a lot of the success comes from once you get to that second level. The quarterback runs past the three back. The three back basically takes like 2 steps forward at an angle and then just stands there and waits. And as the quarterback runs around the back of the three back, he sticks the ball underneath the running back's arms and then continues to roll out at a full sprint. That handoff is definitely something you have to practice. It's like a special handoff that you only run with Sally, but it's such a unique play and it always seems to hit that it's worth kind of spending that extra time on. And then also the blocking scheme could be used for any sort of draw play that you might want to run, whether it's like a quarterback draw, if you want to run your quarterback, if it's just a more traditional handoff draw to a three back or something like that. You could still use the same blocking scheme that you've kind of installed for the Sally play. So we always run ours out of a slot formation almost, and then we always run it with the jet motion coming across the middle there. So we would call this one slot right or over slot right, Liz 33 Sally, or you could just flip it and go tight slot left, rip 34 Sally. So once you see the actual handoff, that's the best way to understand it, is to actually see it happen once we get to those clips, because explaining it, kind of sticking under the arm of the three back only goes so far. But once you see it, you go, I understand. It's much sneakier, especially once the quarterback gets really proficient at it. 2 years ago, or last year, I should say, we had a quarterback who was really good at almost at a full run, just sneaking it in as he ran past the three back. And really pulling the eyes of everybody. So that's Sally. Sally is probably a play that we only run once a game at most. Generally, it's in those like 3rd and longs when you kind of need the conversion, but you don't feel comfortable passing the ball, and it can surprise the defense. And then after you run it through a couple plays, the other teams have to prepare for it, even if you don't end up running it. And it makes them think about like, oh, they're going to run Sally at any point here. And it just can open up pass plays more because the linebackers are thinking about you running Sally rather than you actually throwing the ball. So it's just kind of one of those good change ups to keep in their back pocket even though we don't run it, 5-6 times a game. It's pretty much a one time a game thing. But
one or two times, that's about it. I wish we had more clips of the sallies and the crisscrosses here, but we do have a couple of clips to show you guys.
Yeah, these ones, this one is our home stadium. You get this great pole right in the middle of almost every shot. This one is not great for watching the handoff, which you do like kind of need to see, but it is good for seeing the linemen. So especially if you see the right guard there, I think he's number 61, 51, does a great job of letting his guy through, right? This is what you want. You want the defensive line to think they're getting like a free rush. Okay. Some of our other offensive linemen, not as good of a job. But despite that, you see the lineman pause because of the action in the backfield. So you can just sort of let it slowly play out, coach, if you want. Enough to sneak this handoff that's happening right behind this pole. And then there goes our 3 back, okay, into open space, making guys miss running hard. Okay, so you see all those DBs freeze and wait. Here's another one that's a little bit of a better shot here of the handoff. So if you watch, we got this rip motion coming across. Our quarterback's going to fake this rollout. 3 back's just going to sit. He's going to run around him. And then all the 3 back does is just sit with his arms open. And as the quarterback runs by, he sticks it underneath his arms and lets him go. So you see all these defensive linemen tackling our quarterback way upfield, thinking he's making the best play of his life. He's going to finally get that girlfriend he always wanted because he got a big sack on the opposing quarterback, but unfortunately he doesn't have the ball. Okay. DBs are dropping into their drops, and we get a big first down on a 3rd and 12 or whatever the case might be. Okay, so that's where we would break out Sally, is like 3rd and long. Everybody's thinking pass, but then you sneak underneath them with the draw play. So I think there's one more Sally or maybe 2 more Sallies. Same deal here, a little bit of a better view of that handoff. Okay, all the defensive linemen getting upfield, don't know where they're going. We're able to get upfield a little bit, get a first down there on another, I think that was another 3rd and long. So, and that was a team, that was Enumclaw, and Enumclaw is always pretty good. So if you can fool them, that's a win. This is another time we played Enumclaw, and this is a bad example of the blocking. So if you watch here, I believe it's our right guard, just blocks head on the defensive tackle and does not try to pivot him or move him at all. Okay, and what ends up happening here, you can see right here is our right tackle, actually. Okay, they're all just kind of blocking them head on like it's a traditional run play or a pass block or something like that. They're not opening their hips and letting them pass. So when we finally get the handoff to our 3 back, he has no hole for him to go to, right? It's all just this big mess of defensive linemen. So if you put hands on the guy just straight up, you're ruining the play because you're not opening up this wide hole where you step, let them past you, and kind of ride them out of the play. And instead just blocking head on. But this was a couple years ago, so I'll just say those, they didn't get coached up enough.